All right. What's up, beautiful people? Corwin L. Gilliams here from CLG Lifestyle. Listen, I just did a 20-minute video for whatever reasons. Something was wrong with the audio. And I'm like, you know what? I don't normally say, I'm not doing this video again. But this time, I'm like, nah, we going to get this video out because I've never had an issue with my recording in that way. In fact, I will always check to see, you know what I'm saying, if the sound is good. And for whatever reason today, I did not check. 20 minutes in, it could have been an hour. Nevertheless, we're gonna do this again. We're gonna do this video again because we just gotta do this video again. All right, so let's go. All right, y'all. Corwin L. Gilliams here from CLG Lifestyle. Hope you guys are feeling blessed and grateful to be alive, because guess what? Some people did not wake up this morning, but we did, and that's a reason for us to find, even if it's the smallest opportunity, to be grateful. So if you're new to the platform, I create content around loving self, content around becoming the man that God created you to be. And as a result of that, everything that is attached to this identity, as you reprogram your mind, as you pursue the thoughts, right? The thoughts that are rightfully yours from God, you're going to have the feelings. The word says that God desires for us to prosper and to have good health and a good welfare. So when you believe that, you should, when you think that and you have thoughts of welfare and goodwill from God, you're going to have feelings that complements those thoughts. As a result of your feelings of goodwill and happiness and joy and knowing that you're loved by God, you're going to have actions that's going to support these feelings. And when you have these actions that support the feelings of happiness and joy, you're going to see the fruits of your labor. You're going to see the results of, your works. So with that being said, the first order of business is getting your mindset right. Okay. Understanding aspects of the mind. You don't have to be a psychologist. You don't have to be a psychiatrist. You don't have to be a neurosurgeon. You just have to understand the basics of the mind. And they say when you read, there was someone who I came across, a very wealthy, influential individual, who says that he would read 5 books on a specific topic, right? And that would be for him enough to affirm that this thing is true. Also, this is biblically, right? Even though he said 5, I believe he said 5, the word of God says, do not believe the testimony of a person unless you have 2 or 3 people who can affirm what it said. So I say that in context to relate to the books that I've read, the information that I've garnered that has spoken about the subconscious mind and the mind's ability to be reprogrammed. Okay. Jesus himself said, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. So even Jesus himself, since ancient days, as old as the scriptures are, is saying that the mind has the capacity to be transformed. That's why he told Joshua to meditate day and night on his word. Only then shall he be successful in all that he does. Okay. So God knows how he created us. He knows how he made our minds to function, and he's given us the tools, right? The tools are available. What happens is that there's a lack of belief, unbelief, and ignorance has controlled the lives of so many, where they think they're living free, but they're actually living according to other people's narratives, other people's programming, other people's mindsets and belief systems. And as a result, they're living a life that is broke, busted, and disgusted, and overall oppressed, because they're not embodying their unique blueprint that God designed for them to be. But that's not you. You're here because you have received a level of answered prayer, a level of revelation and desire, because you want to change, you want to be transformed, you want to be the man that God, or woman that God created you to be genuinely. So the video that I did before, which was about 20 minutes, was talking about more so the profession. I gave stories about my desire to go to law school, how that desire came about, how I recognized that desire as a child. I talked about the O.J. Simpson case and how when I saw the case was going on, something in me said, well, I did say, because my mother always reminds me of it. she was like, how I said I didn't want to be a lawyer anymore because they lie too much. So even at 4 or 5 years old, early 90s, when the O.J. Simpson case was going on, as a child, God had already given me this gift that I was aware of, and I was already speaking towards my destiny. Now, I spoke against my destiny because what I was discerning in the case, this was just my humble opinion at the time, even as a 4 or 5 year old child, I discerned that there was perversion. I discerned that there were things going on that wasn't just, that wasn't fair. So I said I didn't want to do that anymore because, as children, we're pure, we want good, we're good natured, and we want the best for people, even though we don't really understand what the world is about. And that when we grow up, how, how the world really is, and how that naivety and that innocence is quickly shattered. But it shouldn't be shattered in a way where you become evil like people. It should be understood in a way where, as Jesus said, be as innocent as lambs or as doves, but shrewd as serpents. There's a shrewdness and astuteness that you need to have living in a world that is founded, that thrives on people's ignorance, thrives on people's greed and lust for money, for food, for clothes, for material possession, for influence, for things that will make them feel good about themselves. And the reality and the truth of the situation is that fulfillment comes as a result of a genuine relationship with God. Everything else is just added on. Everything else is just accessories to the genuine feeling that you have, knowing that everything that you are from being born naked, that there's nothing that will ever compare to your physical design, to your spiritual design, to the design of your mind. However, we've been led to believe that our values and the things that are important are external, right? So you see people doing crazy things for nice cars, crazy things to influence people to get the right woman, to get a certain woman. If you're a female, to get a certain guy, right? A lot of deception, a lot of corruption, a lot of perversion, a lot of lies, lying to get opportunities, presenting in a way on social media to deceive, right? To make people feel that you're something that you're not. And so that is what a lack of self-love does. And this is one of the reasons why my platform, Influencing You to Love Self as in love God, is because it's the truth. You know what I'm saying? That has been my spiritual journey. That has been my life since my born again experience in 2016, coming from a place of being just insecure and broken and traumatized through life's experiences, etc., and going back to my desire to be an attorney, a lawyer. I didn't want to be an attorney anymore, or lawyer anymore, because I didn't like what I was seeing as a child on the television, whatever it is I was able to discern. With that being said, fast forward, I had spoke against that call and that destiny for my life. Okay, and it's surprising, or maybe not to you, that this is what happens when you ignorantly speak against the will of God for your life. You get what you ask for, right? And so, glory to God, I had a spiritual awakening, a spiritual re-encounter with God, because I believe we came from God. And just at the right time, we're going to re-encounter God and rediscover our purpose, right? So in 2016, that was my time. And I began to, so as soon as I had that spiritual awakening, I began to be sensitive again to desires that I had as a child. And the call or the desire to go to law school came back again. All of a sudden, I was like, wow, I forgot about this. This was a vision of mine. Mind you, this was after years of not knowing what to do, going to school, just because, just because it's the right thing to do, pursuing a degree because it sounds good. Meanwhile, my path was, and my blueprint was already established. And all I had to do was maintain my relationship with God. But like many of us, like the prodigal son, we sowed our royal oats. We hated God. We were mad at God because things happened in our lives that we blamed God for. Come to find out that God was not the issue. It was the people around us. It was just the nature of people, the environment, the places, the people, the things that influence our hearts and turn us away from God. So I am no different from the worst of them. Okay, thank God I haven't committed any type of murders. I haven't done anything where my life has caused me to be in a situation where I will regret for the rest of my life. But I've done things that I am regretful of, and I thank God that as many that has fallen down and never gotten back up again, that I was able to get back up again, and I was able to make a decision to live the life that God preserved for me because of His vigilant watch, because of His love and dedication for me. Because even with everything that I am, if you know me, people who know me, that I've always been really honest about things that I feel, right? And I've always had a desire to do the right thing. And a lot of the times we don't do the right thing because we don't know what the right thing is to do. Right. So with that being said, I believe all of that was taken into account, and the Spirit of God, the Heavenly Father, preserved my life, and we're here today because my life is a testimony. And in connection with this specific video, I wanted to talk about me creating content revolved around my unconventional journey to law school. So God gave me a vision a couple years ago, or maybe less than a couple years ago, about taking the unconventional path to law school and also creating content and media in different forms to inspire, encourage, and teach you how you yourself, if this is something that you want to do, if this has been a long held desire like it was for me, but I forgot about it, whether you're 19 or younger, or you're 50, 60, however old you are, that it is not too late. You're watching this video because you still have time. God has the right school for you. God has the right path, right? And this is what's important, the right pathway. So my path is unconventional. Everything about my life is unconventional. Okay. And so it's not going to be any different when it comes to the career path or the profession that I'm pursuing and how I'm going to achieve this goal, because I've made mistakes. When you've not followed the cookie cutter pattern that the world or society says that you should, shout out to those who did the right things. They got the high SAT scores. They were able to go to elite undergrad schools. They were able to go to the T14 law schools. Shout outs to you. This is not taking away any of your achievements or your accolades, because it's hard work. I know that. However, for those of us who have been saved by grace and who have been given another opportunity to do things right, we're going to have to take a path that is unique and unconventional. And this is why it's important for you to trust God, to not let the naysayers, to not let your mistakes, to not let the things that have made you feel defeated, made you feel unworthy, made you feel like you should give up, to take precedence over what God is saying to you now. And He's saying to you now that there is a pathway for you to attend law school. There's a pathway for you, no matter what your financial situation is right now, no matter what your family situation is right now, whether you're a single parent or whatever. There's a pathway for you. You just have to keep holding on to that dream, holding on to that vision. Watch content like mine. If you find something that I share that is leaning towards your path, go ahead. We all have different paths, and all I can do is share the information, even information that may not necessarily be relative to my path, but it may be for someone. God will have me share that. So I want you guys to like, share, and subscribe. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Those are the platforms that I post on regularly, but I also have a school platform, SKOOL School. That is a platform that I discovered where I'm able to create a community of subscribers, and the monthly membership is $19 a month. If this sounds like something that you want to be a part of to get more exclusive content, more direct communication, then go ahead and get that link. Click that link. More than likely, if you're on YouTube, it's in the description box. If you're on TikTok, or Instagram or Facebook, and the link is clickable, go ahead and click the link where it's typically in the bio, it's typically under the name, it's typically, if you're on Facebook, it's typically when you click the profile, you'll see like the link to the website or whatever. Nevertheless, I'll also put links on the, what is it called, Lord? When you post on Facebook, you post on a Facebook page, you'll click a link and I'll be able to promote it there as well. But for now, you'll just be able to click wherever you're able to click the link, because each platform is different. With that being said, This journey, my journey to law school, is going to be unconventional. I'm pursuing a law school degree. Let me tell you a little bit about me so we can make this more specialized and give you more understanding as to the opportunities that are available to people like us who, we dropped out of high school. We ended up getting our GEDs. We dropped out of college. We've been in and out of college 20 times, right? Nevertheless, we haven't given up. Nevertheless, we want a path that is unique to us, that complements our mindset, our personalities, our learning styles. Okay. All of these things matters, and all of these things are a reflection of our unique identity, and as to why we should not try to compromise or to fit in with people, places, and things that do not serve our God-given purpose. And so the more you understand the value in embodying your unique identity, embodying the person that God called you to be, the more you're going to understand that now you're going to be led into the right environments, and that when people, places, and things begin to shed, when environments begin to shed, whether it's you losing a job or they firing you or you not wanting to be around certain people anymore, you got to understand that it's because you're making a decision to grow, to elevate, and you're asking God to shift the environment. You're asking God to lead you in the way that you should go, because you are bringing all of your life's quarries, all of your life issues, all of your life's concerns, all of your ideas. You're bringing it to God and you're asking Him to help you, right? The word says to delight yourself in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart. It also says to lean not on your own understanding, but in all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will direct your path. I want to focus on all your ways. So don't ever think anything is too small or too little that God is not going to consider. He is God, and He loves us, and He wants the best for us, right? So my path is unconventional in that I dropped out of high school. I ended up getting a GED, thank God. I ended up getting my associate's degree in business administration, thank God, right? Now come to find out, right? Come to find out, California is a progressive state, as we all know. And there are opportunities for you in the state of California to go to not ABA accredited schools, American Bar Association accredited schools. Those of you who've been pursuing the law school journey, you're familiar with the ABA regulations, right? So many of us know that ABA law schools, ABA stands for American Bar Association law schools, are top tier. All of the T14 law schools, the Princetons, the Harvards, what is it? What are they, Lord? The elite of the elite, the elites. Georgetown, Stanford, all of these schools, right? All of these schools are ABA approved, and they are accredited by ABA. However, everyone does not have the qualifications or I don't want to say the skill set. Everyone has not been prepared, right, to enter into those schools with the qualifying scores, the qualifying certifications and assessments and tests that's required to enter into those schools or to even be considered. However, in the state of California, as I was saying, California is a progressive state. California has what is called another accreditation when it comes to the legal system. That's called the California Committee Bar Examiners. So in other words, this accreditation they accredit California state law schools. Okay. These law schools in California still have to go through their systems. They still have to be, evaluated, and still have to pass certain evaluation requirements, such as having at least 40% passage rate, California state bar passage rate, right? Within, I believe, a 5-year mark, okay? Within 5-year increments. They have to maintain over 40% passing rate for students who take the California State Bar exam at their schools. And I want to specify California State Bar exam because let's say, for example, you say, okay, you don't qualify to go to an ABA law school. You may qualify to go to a California State accredited law school. Why? Because one of the qualifications is that you need to have at least 60 credits, right? have at least 60 credit or a conferred degree, as in an associate's degree, right? That is what equates typically to an associate's degree, 60 credits. Now, I have over, the last time I checked, I have over 73 credits, okay? I took extra classes, okay? And so from my associate's degree program, right? So that is one of the requirements to some of the state accredited law schools in California, to have 60 credits, 60 college credits with or without a conferred associate's degree. And of course, they want, the letter of recommendation, etc., your transcripts, etc. But that is foundationally what is required. Some of them don't even require you to have an LSAT score or a GRE score or a JD Next score, right? They just require you to have your 60 credits or associate's degree, letters of recommendations, and most importantly, being able to pay for your law school. That tends to be the number one thing that prevents people from pursuing their legal degree, is the finances. Now, as I said before, my treadmill just shut off. As I said before, when you are pursuing God's plans for your life, where there's a will, there's a way. And you're going to find that God already has your provisions. He already has the resources that you need to get where you need to go to accomplish your goal. Okay, so let's get any concerns about finances out the way, and let's just focus with the right thoughts and believe that the plans and purposes of God for your life is going to come to fruition. Amen. So with that being said, that's the path that I've been planning to take. And as a result of this unique path, I'm going to be sharing content in different forms. I'm going to be sharing the information relative to my personal walk and my personal journey into law school as someone who does not. Okay, another thing I want to address. A lot of people are concerned with, well, it's not an ABA accredited school. What type, is that a good school? Is that even a qualifying school? Is it even worth the investments, right? Because when it comes to accreditation, we all know that typically reputation is all when it comes to education, right? Specifically in the academic field. So when you have a school that is reputable, that is known for their rigorous programs and known for having 90% employment rate after graduating law school, you'll find that people will have, an affinity towards those programs. However, for the discerning individual, for the individual that knows that God is their head, that God is their leader, that God is the one who opens doors for them, and you want to leave room for God to do some miraculous works, right? Because a lot of the times, mostly all the time, God wants the glory. And what happens with these elite schools, which, as I said, kudos to y'all who do it. You know what I'm saying? You set the standard and it's excellence. But what happens with those schools is that they tend to take the glory from God. They tend to take the honor that should be given from God, because when people hear that you graduated from, let's say, an elite Ivy League school, most times it's the name of the school that gets the recognition. Okay, it's not, they don't really, I'm not saying that they don't, but most times you don't really hear people say, oh, glory to Jesus, what I'm saying, for this degree, right? Jesus gave me this degree. Most times people want their own glory. They want to give glory to other men, other human beings. And this has been since the Old Testament. This has been since the New Testament. So with that being said, the discerning individual, you're going to say, okay, well, you know what? This program is not, this law degree program, this law school is not T14. It's not even ABA accredited. But when I look at the statistics, so the California State Committee Bars of Accreditation, I'm saying their name wrong, but I'm going to put the right name in the video. When you go on their website, you're able to see the statistics of the schools that are California state accredited, and the passage rate for the individuals who have taken the test in the corresponding school. So you have, of course, first time test takers, second time test takers. You have the percentage of the amount of, or the percentage of the body of class that pass, right? That pass. And as I said before, the requirement for that accreditation is 40%. So in my opinion, if a school have at least 60% passage rate, that's good enough. You know why? Because in my due diligence, in my research, I wanted to see what the elite schools were doing, like the Columbias and the NYU. So you have a lot of people who graduate from Columbia, schools like Columbia and NYU, right? This is the east side. And they'll come to California to take the state bar because every state has their different bar qualifications, right? And California is one of, as we know, many of you know, is one of the hardest bar examination states, hands down. Okay, and I believe they just recently did, I don't know why they did that. I guess to make it more, I don't know. I just feel like it should have stayed the same. Like if you need to work harder to achieve the goal, go ahead. But I believe they decreased the qualifying points, they decreased the qualifying points to pass because they wanted to make it more accessible to other groups of people. I'm gonna just keep it like that. Okay. Anyways, so I was looking at other out of state schools who took the California bar exam, and the only school that had 100% passing rate outside of even when it comes to schools like Stanford and the top schools in California, Berkeley, Law, and all of those places, USC, who are in the state of California, Columbia outdid all of them the last time I checked, 100% passing rate. And I thought that was interesting because here it is. This is an Ivy League in New York, and their students are outpassing students who are within the state of California going to Ivy League schools. So that was interesting, but it also revealed to me that it's really not about necessarily the school. Yes, certain schools will have resources and the infrastructure and the professionals who, have the experience and the talent to really create a program that is effective. But ultimately, it's about your hard work. So when I saw the state accredited schools, the California state accredited law schools who are not ABA approved, but are approved in terms of their students can sit only for this is another distinguishment or distinguishing factor, is that if you do relocate to California and you go to a California state accredited school, you cannot practice law in another state unless you do the research within that state and fulfill the obligations to sit for the state bar in that state. For example, if you go to a California state accredited law school, you can sit for the California bar. If you pass the bar, you are now a licensed attorney and you can apply or start your own practice in the state of California only and practice law in the state of California only. That is the only stipulation going to a state accredited law school in California. If you were to go to an ABA accredited law school, you can practice law in any state that requires you to take the bar. You just have to take the bar according to the state that you want to practice law in. So if you want to practice law in Alabama, you got to take the bar there. I believe there's some states that are intersecting, meaning that if you take it in one state, you don't have to take it in another state. But for the most part, each state has their examining requirements that you need to fulfill as an attorney. So with that being said, when you pursue, and I say when because you're going to do it, when you pursue the law degree in California, you have to practice law within the state of California. So this is a situation where you have to be discerning. You have to know exactly what it is that you want to do. And as I was saying, this is what this platform is about. This is what this channel is about. I'm creating a pathway for people who know that God wants them to relocate to California, who are deciding to take their position, take their role within the legal system within California and begin to make the changes that God is saying needs to be changed to establish righteousness in the land, because we know that the legal system is screwed up. And as I was saying when I was talking about in the previous video with the O.J. Simpson case and me discerning and saying something's fishy here and I don't want to practice law because lawyers lie too much. Those were my words as a 4-5-year-old boy. I've developed, and I've acquired the knowledge and the understanding to know this is life. And when something is wrong, you may be the one that needs to fix it. So this is going to be the path for many of you who are discerning. You know what you want. You don't care about the elitism. You don't care about the accolades. You don't care about the reputation. You want to make sure that it's a school that is functional, that is actually passing, that has the resources, that has the regimen or the structure or the program that you identify with, that's going to prepare you to sit legally for the California State Bar exam. And you're going to do the work, whether that's taking extra lessons, whether that's taking, so now they have different like bar prep programs and other resources out there in connection with your traditional law school curriculum that you can use to help you prepare to sit for the California State Bar exam. Because at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, you will be sitting next to the Stanford students, next to the USC students, next to the UCLA student, next to the Columbia student, next to the NYU student, next to the Georgetown student, okay, in California. So don't make people feel like, that you are not worthy, that you are not capable when you've done the work. You've chosen the path that's unique to you. You've done the extra studies. You've put in the time to be able to sit next to the Ivy League and to pass that test, okay? Because you put in the work, okay? So I say that to say, I'm going to be collecting information. I'm going to be sharing resources. I'm going to be sharing information in different forms so that you can make your own decisions. Okay, this is not information that I'm giving you as a professional. This is just content creation. Let me put my disclaimer out there. This is just information that I'm sharing to be able to give you insight on my personal perspective, on my personal beliefs, and what I'll be doing. But you have to make your own decisions. Okay, you have to make, it's your decision that you have to make. You take the information and do what you want with it. But I'm here to make the information available to you. All right. So with that being said, it's your time. The time is now. You're not too old. This is a long lost dream that you have buried, but God has brought it back to you because it's time. It's time. You want to do right. You want to establish justice in the land. You have a desire to make change in your community. And the vision that God has given me is going to, create opportunities for you to have, to be able to select a school that works for you, to be able to have accommodations as far as housing, to be able to have job opportunities, because we need to work, right? We need to work and we need to make money. We're going to have living situations, housing situations where you feel like you're at a resort, right? Because God knows how to take care of his people. God knows how to live good. He is the originator of living good. Okay. You don't have to take the paths. You don't have to follow the paths of tradition or do the things, you know what I'm saying, that people say you need to do. You just got to be full and filled with the fullness of your God and the peace that he provides, and allow him to lead your step, because you're going to need the peace to do the work. We know that law school can be a rigorous time in your life, right? But there's also balance. If we're gonna have, we're gonna smoke the cigars, we're gonna, have the whiskey and the bourbon and the wine, whatever. We're gonna have good food. We're gonna have good games. We're gonna just have a good time. But we're also gonna work. We're also gonna work. We're also gonna stand on righteousness. We're also gonna be about our Father's business and do what needs to be done to save people who are being treated with injustice, who are being mistreated, who are being, oppressed, who are being bamboozled and swindled because of bribes, because of corruption and perversion, because of people too weak to stand on business, right? And so if this sounds like something that got you fired up, get connected, like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to follow me on my school platform. And we're going to get this going. With that being said, I really appreciate y'all. Part of self-development is physical. I got me a little treadmill off of TikTok. And every day since I got it, I've been doing at least 2 hours a day. I'm about to head outside to get some sun, because I feel like that's part of health and wellness, sunlight. So with that being said, and then edit this video, you know what I'm saying? With that being said, I do other content creation revolved around fitness. If you look on my social media platforms, you see my fitness content. I share a lot of wisdom in regards to identity, because that is the foundation. Knowing who you are, believing who you are, being confident in who you are. Right? There's an identity crisis, as we know, within our society. And this is a platform that's going to help restore you to your rightful identity. But you have to do the work. You have to, be sold out on you, right? I'm just a vessel, and I'm thankful for that. So with that being said, I know that this journey is going to not only give God the glory first and foremost, but it's going to change people's lives. And I'm excited to see how the small stages, the small beginnings of this vision flourishes and blossoms into the wealth magnet that it is for me, the legacy that it will be for me and for you, and wealth for you as well, because you have the opportunity to create wealth in your neck of the woods. Okay, so I thank y'all, I love y'all, and I'll talk to y'all later.